Hello everyone and welcome back to Lucky Loaders 15, where I'll be giving you two of my best tips for tomorrow's racing. Now before we get stuck into that, I quickly just want to go through a couple of things with you. First of all, if you haven't done so already, make sure you check out the video that I did with a Hong Kong racing blogger, Shireen Wu, along with my co-host Mark Karosky. We were invited onto her YouTube channel to talk about the 4 international Group 1 races that are taking place at Shatung in the early hours of the morning here in the UK, where we're going to be seeing the likes of Mogul, Magical, Order Australia, some exciting races down there at Shatung. And if you want to know our thoughts and feelings on it, just make sure you hit the link in the description box below, and that will take you to Shireen's YouTube channel. Also as well, I'll quickly just recap through the selections and how they performed today. Again, it was another good day for us here on the YouTube channel. That's our 6th profitable day out of the last 7 days, so we're in a rich vein of form at the moment, and that was thanks down to our nap Song for Someone, who was a really tough winner today. He really battled hard just to get the better of Silver Streak, who must be one of the most unluckiest horses in training. He's been a grand servant to Evan Williams, and hopefully he will have his grade 1 one day, but yeah, he's probably going to have to wait a little bit longer for it. But yeah, Song for Someone, probably the most reliable horse in the field, you'd have to say. Always runs his race, digs deep. We put him up last time as my nap at Ascot over a slightly further trip of 2.5 miles. He dropped back down in trip today, and that was always maybe the concern with him, but at least we know he can win over 2 miles, especially at a good level. And he's probably, I would say, on this side of the water, the one that I would say, if he did turn up in a champion hurdle, that would probably give Epton the most to think about. But he would definitely have to take another step forward, and she could easily take another step forward. She's clearly head and shoulders above the rest here in the UK. So yeah, Song for Someone ran a really good race, drifted out to a nice price as well, 6-1. So I hope some of you backed it there, and was definitely a worthy winner. Some people might ask me about Gosh and what my thoughts on him were. Who knows, really? The signs have been on the wall, really. All autumn he'd been very poor in his flat runs, because when he ran before last season on the flat, before he went over hurdles, he actually showed a real zest. He was very keen and very buzzy, and he seemed to be loving it on the flat. And then he applied that same attitude to his jumping, and that's what made him a superstar. But you could see on his 2 flat runs this season that they were very lackluster. He didn't seem to have that enthusiasm, and today it kind of tailed. Connections haven't been happy, I know that, like I said, from my sources at Sky, and also as well, you could see it in the race today. They gave him a strange tactic. There's quite a lot of front runners in it, but that's the way he likes to race. He likes to be up the pace, and instead they were just holding him back. They were trying to ride him under restraint, but you could see he was keen. He wasn't really enjoying it. He probably wanted to be delivered more forward, but I think if he had, he probably would have blown up. And also as well, don't forget, he's a juvenile, and a lot of people seem to fall into this trap every year. Every time we see a sexy juvenile, when they go into against the older horses next time, when they progress the next year, a lot of them don't always take to it. All Mankind is probably one of the possible exceptions. You don't see too many 4-year-olds then go on to become very good horses. Song for Someone, though, was a fair juvenile, but they didn't chuck him into the deep end. And I think these juveniles that maybe get thrown into the deep end, their next season, I think you probably want to stay away with them at least for a year, and then maybe see where they are after that, because it can be very tough for them. And I just think that could be a classic case with Goshen, who looks like he's not really enjoying it at all. And to be honest, I really don't know what they should do with him. Maybe run him in a few races, get his handicap marked down, stick him in a race like the county hurdle. Who knows? But yeah, it's going to be a bit of a head scratcher, I think, now for Goshen, to see what he'll be doing on his next start. Maybe the Contenders at Sandown might be a race that he might have a crack at, where he won over the course and distance last year. So maybe that's where we might see him next time out. So yeah, that's how Goshen did, and that's my thoughts on Goshen. The other winner of the day was our next best, Sky Pirate. who travelled on the bridle so sweetly in the end. Bit of a heart and mouth moment at the last where he didn't get the cleanest jump, but he still looked to be cruising, and in the end he just ran his rivals ragged and he just cruised away from them and won very easily. Now, I know for a lot of people he was a bit of a joke horse. He never really found for pressure a lot of the time, but I always thought he had a race in him. I generally did believe in him because I've put him up, if you've been following my work here for the last few years, quite a few times during his career, and I just knew that he had a big race in him, and he finally had it today because I knew that he was better than a 134 rated horse. But it's just that cruising speed, that's his main asset, and running over 2 miles today was a spark of genius, I think, from John Joe O'Neill. And if he went to the Grand Annual, you would have to say he would be very strong in the betting for that, and the race would probably suit him very well. So it'd be interesting to see what the handicapper does with him. Maybe they might draw stumps now until the festival, try and protect his handicap mark. But Sky Pirate finally had his day in the sun and proved his critics wrong, and I'm just glad that I was loyal to him. And sometimes this is one of the ways you can, it's one of those things that where loyalty is rewarded, you know, staying with horses. Sometimes just if they have one bad run, that you don't always want to discard them. You sometimes want to keep the faith, but sometimes you got to stop backing them at some point, otherwise you will get dragged off a cliff. But I can see why for many people he did drag them off a cliff, including myself, and why people didn't exactly want to be with him today. But I chose to remain loyal, and thank God that loyalty paid off. The other two selections of the day was Oscar Honeybee. Thought he ran a credible race. You know, he tried his heart out, but in the end could only muster 3rd place. And the other tip, Master Tommy Tucker, advertised at 8-1 with the 6 places. Typical, just got mown down as Cool Cody rallied again in the closing stages. To be fair to Master Tommy Tucker, a lot of people will probably crab him, but I thought he ran a good race for a long way in that race. And if you actually look at the race as a whole, when he was coming into the home turn, he was still tanking and he still was travelling very well, but probably just as the race unfolded up that home straight, he wasn't best with his jumping. He jumped okay for the most part, but he made a mistake at the second last that just seemed to knock the stuffing out of him, and in the end it was always literally an uphill battle at Cheltenham there. Bad pun there, but yeah, it just in the end just faded out of contention. But I think he still ran a credible race, you know, and in the end that's how it went. But it's been a good day, like I said, all round. 2 nice winners today, and fingers crossed we can continue that form into tomorrow. So let's get into the tips then. For the first selection of the day tomorrow, we go to Carlisle for the 210, and this is where my nap's going to be running tomorrow in the Potomps qualifier, and that is Getaround for Brian Carver, claiming free, riding for Ella Pickard. Now again, this is a horse that I've put up quite a few times, but I wasn't with him last time at Newcastle, which I kicked myself for after he won, because he won at quite a nice price. But I'm keeping the faith tomorrow with this lad. He actually beat Oscar Honeybee last time, who I think to somewhat of an extent you can say has boosted the form by running an okay race at Cheltenham today. And he had to give away that day, Getaround did, because he was carrying a penalty. So that was definitely a nice up mark, I think, for the form there. And even if you go back to his 4th place effort at Lingfield, which was his first handicap, he ran well for a long way. And the form of that race has worked out quite nicely, because the Nichols horse ran a cracking race behind Portrush Ted at Sandown on his last start, and also as well some of the other horses in behind, or in front of him I should say, that day. I think it was the Skelton horse that's gone on and won again since. So the form there does look quite good from Getaround's recent runs, and at 7-2 I think that's a good price, and we know he's likely to go to the front. Carlisle can suit front runners if they get into a good rhythm, and it can be hard for the horses chasing him to peg him back. And I just think if he can get into a nice easy lead tomorrow, he hopefully will just stay there and grind it out. So yeah, Getaround, not an original selection tomorrow, but I thought he was the most likely winner of that race, and I thought there was a bit of value in his price. We then go to the next best, which runs in the 2:30 at Southwell. We actually don't have to wait too long in between tips tomorrow, and in the 2:30 this mare's handicap, I'm going to go Shatung for Bryony Frost and Lucy Wadham, which was a winning combination today as they won the last race at Cheltenham with the White Mouse. But this horse, Shatung, has been falling down the weight, but has been running okay in defeat finished 4th at Leicester last time out, I should say finished 3rd at Leicester last time out, where the form has actually worked out not too badly, because Sandalina for Charlie Longston, that horse went on to win a race at Uttoxeter earlier in the week, boosting that form, and even the run at Lingfield on her penultimate start is actually worked out quite well. I think the Skelton horse that I mentioned, I think that ran in the other Lingfield race I just spoke about, has come out and won there at Ascot. That was the one that Bridget Andrews was very cool on, and I think she might have won Ride of the Month, or she was at least nominated for it. But so yeah, her form does stack up quite nicely, and she's down to a mark of 107. Also, what's interesting is the drop back to 2 miles tomorrow. This is the shortest I think she's ever run in her career over hurdles, or she hasn't tried it for a very long time, and she's down to a mark of 107, which I think is very workable. And also as well, if you look at the ground at Savile, it's currently soft at the moment, and there's rain coming into England tomorrow, so it's going to make it real test of stamina, I think, over this trip. And there's quite a few horses in here that probably won't like the ground, but Shatung, we know, can handle a bit of dig in the ground, and I think that will play to her strength. So yeah, I think Shatung there, again, 7-2. I think there's lots to like about her running a good race tomorrow, getting plenty of weight from some of her rivals, and I think she'll go very close in that race at Seville tomorrow. So they're my 2 tips for tomorrow's racing. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit the thumbs up for more videos here on my YouTube channel. Also as well, if you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure you subscribe, and that means every time I upload a video you'll get a notification on your YouTube app or your desktop, so make sure you do that. And also as well, if you want to follow me on social media, the best place to do so is on Twitter, where my handle is @LuckyLoader15. And if you want to find out a little bit more about myself, my website is www.chrisloaderracing.co.uk. So please game responsibly. Hopefully we can have some winners tomorrow, and we'll be seeing you soon.